My name is Brent Chapman. I am a Major League Fishing World Championship competitor. You know, for me, it started at an early age. I remember, a vivid memory being with my dad down in Carthage, Missouri with great-grandmothers, and my dad took me down to the Spring River, and I remember catching probably a 3 or 4 pound bass off the Spring River Bridge, and we took it up and put it in the cattle tank. I mean, I was so proud of that. And then a trip to the local park, and we would fish from shore because we didn't have a boat. And I remember a guy comes by in a big fancy bass boat, and I'm throwing an old Rebel crankbait off the bank, and I asked the guy if he'd done any good, and he pulls out like these 2 what seemed like monster bass to me, and they're probably 3 or 4 pounders, and he said, "Here, do you want one?" And I throw my lure out, and he hooks it on, and I reel in this bass, and I take it over to my dad, and I kind of fibbed a little bit, said, "Look what I caught." Right after that, I literally go back to the same spot throwing that crankbait, and I catch a fish almost identical to it, probably a 4 pounder. And those are very early memories. And then from there, I remember being a teenage kid and having to go to the Shawnee Mission Bassmasters and having them vote this kid into the club because they'd never had a kid that wanted to be a part of the club. And probably in the late 80s of, I was still in high school and winning our bass club's Mr. Bass event, and that was a pretty big title, back then. So, it was like winning the classic. Early in my career, I remember catching my first official 9 pound bass at Lake Guntersville. And from there, just, it's just slowly evolved, these little bit bigger and higher achievements to 2012 winning Angler of the Year and being at the Cup events, and then from there going to the Selects and having good events at the Selects, and then ultimately making it to the Cups, and finally the Bass Pro Tour. I remember in 2014 the Selects get formed, and being a part of the Selects and going out there and having some good events in the Selects and working my way up the point system that was set in place, and ultimately qualifying for the Cups, and really an exciting time in my career. And then having the continued success in these Cup events, and ultimately leading me here to the Major League Fishing World Championship. Being here, it's a huge accomplishment. I mean, that we as professional anglers, that's what we want to do. We want to achieve goals, and when you guys put these titles out there, that's what we want. We want titles. I mean, that's, if you're an angler, that's what you want to achieve, is titles. And it's many small goals that you put in place to reach those goals that will eventually lead you to something like this, the World Championship. And I'd love to bring that title home.